Last year, we made a video about how Call of Duty Infinite Warfare is getting a lot of hate. One of the reasons we discussed was that people wanted a quote-unquote boots-on-the-ground war simulator instead of one in space built on tech. Well, it looks a whole lot like that's exactly what's happening. Some leaks have depicted a Call of Duty World War II setting, and nothing's been completely confirmed, but the leaks seem pretty legit. And since then, an Activision COO went on record reiterating that Call of Duty would once again quote-unquote return to its roots, and traditional combat would take center stage. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today gameranx asks the question, how could setting the next Call of Duty in World War II change the series? So let's confront the elephant in the room first. Battlefield 1 did really well. It didn't do the same numbers that Infinite Warfare did, but a lot of Infinite Warfare people were very angry that it was not more like Battlefield 1. Activision, being a company, saw this and said, well, it looks like we could probably make more money now if we switch the motif. 3 games of technological warfare got to be a little bit extreme for people, and although the games also certainly have their fans, ultimately a company has to care what its customers are saying, and a lot of customers were very loudly saying, we want a game more like Battlefield 1. I don't want to call it Battlefield 1 envy, but it was in that general area. So the way Activision's Call of Duty developers work is they have 3 different development houses. Infinity Ward, the originators of the series, Treyarch, really the primary Call of Duty Zombies developer, and then there's Sledgehammer Games, which first worked on Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and then went on to create on its own Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. The last 3 Call of Duty games have all been technological warfare-oriented ideas because they had all 3 of the development houses working on one of those games. These development houses do not make a single game every year. In fact, they spend 2 or sometimes even 3 years on the game ahead of time. This is specifically why we had 3 of those games in a row. It was locked in at all of the studios a couple years before the games even came out. Activision puts pretty big budgets into these games, and just dropping one of them probably wouldn't have been good. And regarding sales, Infinite Warfare actually did very well. So financially, they're fine. But people also really didn't like the idea of another one of those games. People are craving real things lately, things that are much more grounded in reality. Stuff that isn't so unbelievably out there that, well, having a space war, for instance, kind of requires a certain suspension of disbelief that an old school war game does not. So the first thing we need to note is that this game was probably in development before the backlash to Infinite Warfare. Games take longer than you might think to make, especially these games. That's why they have 3 developers working on them. These are big budget games that have a campaign and very carefully made multiplayer that's designed to keep people engaged as well as give them a new experience year after year. One could say that Advanced Warfare essentially sealed the direction that the games were moving in just by doing well. Once it became planned that all 3 studios were going to make a game based on the advanced/technological warfare ideas, it was essentially locked in that there was going to be a 3-year stretch of games that followed that mold. So the real question is, do they have the same thing going on with this that they did with technological warfare? Is realistic warfare the next trend? Have they already made the plan with the 3 studios that they're going to be making games like this? While it's possible, what probably actually cemented the plan was the reaction to the announcement of Infinite Warfare. Well, our response here at gameranx to that game was a little bit more measured. It actually isn't a bad game. It's actually a pretty good game, to be completely honest. Even if you like something, it's easy to have too much of a good thing, especially 3 games in a row that are more or less bigger versions of the same thing. The other possibility is that Activision has caught on to the idea that having 3 games with the same theme in a row, year after year, pisses people off. Because it's not as if people hate the technological warfare idea, they don't. Advanced Warfare did good. Black Ops 3 did great. It was reviewed well, on top of well received pretty much all around. People only got mad at Infinite Warfare because they'd gotten burnt out on the idea. So wouldn't it be smarter for them to alternate between them? Do a realistic warfare, an advanced warfare, and then let Treyarch do whatever the hell it is that they come up with. But I'm excited about this game because yes, I am also interested in a boots on the ground, more serious and realistic Call of Duty game. And if it's not that great, I do want them to return to more quote-unquote out-there style settings. In fact, I'd like them to start alternating, figure out which studio does which thing the best, and just have them do it, so every 3 years there's that kind of game. That would obviously be the most practical approach, but the cynic inside me says, I don't know that they'll do that. The gaming world today kind of does everything it can to quote-unquote chase the trends. If it is 3 historical war games, there is a potential for the actually good Vietnam game. Nobody's saying that Call of Duty is incompetent, and if they actually turn their eyes on Vietnam in a way that managed to portray the moral conflict as well as the unique battles that took place during that war, it could be very interesting. There is an Apocalypse Now game coming out which will be a little bit less focused on combat, but frankly a good Vietnam game that's also based around combat would probably be something that people would be interested in. If you want to see an utterly terrifying war game, go with the first Iraq War, or even the second. There's plenty of wars that have actually happened that there are lessons to be learned from, all with their own unique technologies, unique battles, and just things of that time that just never were and never will be again. Now, Sledgehammer typically leads the way. They were the ones that made Advanced Warfare and sort of started that path, so it's pretty fair to assume the path is being set once again. But like I said, the more measured approach of having 3 different developers working on 3 different sectors of these Call of Duty games probably isn't that likely. I'm not saying they're all going to be World War II games, but there's a decent chance they're all at least going to be set in more believable settings. One way or the other, it seems weird that going back decades to the war that nearly broke the entire world is what will probably freshen the series significantly. But it probably will. And frankly, the zombies game that accompanies it is probably gonna be really good. I'm thinking kind of an Inglourious Bastards vibe, except with zombies. See where I'm coming from on this? I'm looking forward. Anyway, what do you think? What is your dream Call of Duty game? What would you just be so morbidly curious that it doesn't matter what the reviews were, you would have to check it out? Let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now is a great time to do just that. We upload brand new videos every single day of the week. And as always, we thank you very much for watching this one. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter @FalconTheHero, and we'll see you next time right here on GameRanx.